Thank you, Senator Hickenlooper. Mr. House Veit, you're very familiar with the Bakken, and so you know that even though before it was commercially viable to produce the Bakken, it was technologically viable. And so the challenge we had, I was governor back at that time, and starting in 2000, is we were drilling the vertical wells, which you're very familiar with, but the economics were such that all the companies were leaving. There were other places where they could go and, frankly, do better. We started to work on the shale play and eventually, of course, cracked the code and went from just being technologically viable to commercially viable. So talk to me in terms of carbon capture, because the same thing applies. Now, you're very familiar with the Energy and Environmental Research Center at the University of North Dakota. My first question is, are you committed to continuing the Peace Corps partnership that they have with the Department of Fossil Energy at DOE?
Senator, thank you for the question. Thank you for the time earlier this week. I'm very familiar with the EERC. It's a team of very talented scientists, geologists. I don't know the details of the agreement that's currently in hand at DOE. If confirmed, I do commit to reviewing that contract, understanding the benefits to the DOE and to the nation.
Okay, but that is part of the work that is going to, and EERC is a great example of the type of entity that you need to work with along with private enterprise to crack the code here. You need to crack the code in terms of getting carbon capture commercially viable. How are you going to do it?
Senator, thank you for the question. Working with the brightest minds in the country is one way. We need to drive the costs down, just like we did with the shale revolution. In order to make anything compete for capital, it needs to generate a return that attracts investment. We need to find ways not only to capture CO2, we need to use the CO2. Most of our unconventional revolution resources are maturing, and we're leaving 90% of the oil in the ground. We have 90% of the oil that we need to go get, and CO2 is an incredible resource to do that. It's got the right physical properties, that it will be easy to inject, it will mix with the oil at lower pressures, and will allow us to go recover the remaining resource below our feet, below wells that have already been drilled and locations that have already been built with infrastructure already in place. So we need to be thinking about how to use this resource to go recover more affordable, reliable energy. And
right. It's a huge twofer, right? You not only pull the CO2 off the coal plants, so now you've got longevity with baseload, but now you also have that CO2 for carbon floods, which doubles the life of these oil fields, right? That's energy and more energy, right? And better environmental stewardship.
Senator, we need to get more oil out of the ground, and CO2 is a fantastic resource to do that.
And we have this time now to do it with an administration that understands how to produce all of our energy resources. So we need to get this done for future. So we have this resource for future generations. Would you agree?
We need this resource for many generations. Hydrocarbons make up more than 80% of our primary energy, and we need more of it for many, many decades.
Thank you. And so then I'm going to turn to Ms. Teresa. Going down the same line, we need more electricity. All these smart guys want it for AI and all these different uses, right? They always want more and more and more electricity. Yet at the same time, we face all these pressures that actually constrain our ability to produce that base load electricity. And so coal-fired electricity is incredibly important for the stability of the grid and having that base load. How are you going to work with your colleague next to you there and make sure that we have these coal plants around for a long, long time, future generations, so that they can provide you that base load you need for an electric, reliable grid?
Thank you, Senator, for that.
Counting on you two to get this done now. So.
Well, it is a daunting task, but we work for President Trump, and I think that he would only trust folks who are movers and shakers and want to get things done. And so I will, if confirmed, it also will involve not just the two of us working together, but working with our federal families, and also the grid in itself has many, many stakeholders working with the states and the local people to get it done. And so the collaboration that I talked about before, we will have early conversations and ongoing engagement to ensure that what we are doing is in the best interest of our taxpayers and can benefit all Americans with affordable, secure, reliable energy.
You agree we need that base load?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that is, we're in a situation today, thank you for reminding me about that. Baseload is so important for stabilizing our grid It allows more buffer in the system to accommodate the different shapes that are happening. You were talking about the AI and data centers. We know that they're not only going to have huge demand, but they're also going to have interesting shapes that the grid is going to have to respond to. And baseload will certainly help to support that.
So, Mr. Doffermeyer, and then you've got the key role to play in that, you know, delays defeat. You know, you start out talking about your job in terms of guiding white water rafting and hunting and fishing. I mean, I about cried. It sounded so good. I mean, I love to hunt, love to fish, love the outdoors. And, you know, I could just see the serene look on your face while you're talking about it. That's really awesome stuff. So we love the environment, and we want to always protect it and all that. But at the same time, we got to develop this energy, and so we've got to have a certain permitting process that works, that's certain, that we get the investment made. We do it right and well, but we get her done, right?
Amen.
Talk about that. How are you going to work with these two next year to make sure we have energy from these sources, that we can't get to energy dominance without the things we're talking about? How do you see us moving forward to get that done?
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Senator Hoeven, for the question, and thank you for all that the work that you have done, or that I witnessed. I was not involved with the Dakota Access Pipeline, but I was familiar with it, and I know that you were very helpful, and that's a perfect example of
The whole country was familiar with it.
yeah, it's a perfect example of a broken regulatory system.
Exactly.
You know, it's one president says you got the permit.
It's been operating for almost, I don't know, well over 5 years now. You know, 500,000 plus barrels a day, and it still doesn't have the final regulatory approval.
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah, and it's granted, you know, the right of way, and then it's revoked, and then it's granted again, and it's revoked, and it's just, you know, if we continue along that line, if we continue to have a permitting system, you know, that operates like that, the capital will dry up, the investment in these types of infrastructure projects will not be there, and we will not be able to meet the growing demand, and ultimately, you know, heaven forbid, we'll lose the AI arms race to China. So, you know, I think permitting is absolutely critical to our energy security, and I think we all agree that our energy security is critical to our national security.
Thank you to all three of you. Appreciate it. Senator Cortez Masto.